Yo, what's good, tech fam? All right, buckle up because we've got some spicy news about Samsung and their next big chip for the Galaxy S26 series, the Exynos 2600. I'm super pumped to break this down for you guys in a way that's easy to get. So let's dive in and talk about why this could be a game changer. If you're wondering whether Samsung's finally stepping up their chip game, stick with me and let's figure this out together. So here's the deal. Samsung's been cooking up their Exynos 2600, and word on the street is they're getting ready to mass produce this bad boy for the Galaxy S26, which is dropping early next year. Now, if you've been following Samsung for a while, you know their Exynos chips have had a bit of a rocky rep. Overheating, not keeping up with Qualcomm Snapdragon chips, you name it. But this time, oh man, it sounds like Samsung's ready to flip the script. First off, this Exynos 2600 is being built on a crazy new 2nm process. For those of you who aren't tech nerds like me, let me break it down super simple. The smaller the nanometer number, the more advanced the chip. It's like squeezing more power into a tinier space, which means better performance, better battery life, and, fingers crossed, less heat. Samsung's calling this their first 2nm GAA chip. GAA stands for Gate-All-Around, which is just a fancy way of saying they're using some next-level tech to make this chip super efficient. Think of it like upgrading from an old, clunky car to a sleek electric Tesla. That's the vibe. Now, here's where it gets juicy. Samsung's had some trouble in the past with their chip production, something called yield issues. Basically, that means they were struggling to make enough chips that actually worked well enough to sell. Imagine baking a batch of cookies, but only a few come out perfect. That's low yield. Earlier this year, reports said their 2nm process was at about 30% yield, which is pretty low. But according to this new report from ET News, Samsung's fixed those problems. They're ready to crank out these Exynos 2600 chips like nobody's business. I'm like, yo, Samsung, if you've really sorted this out, that's huge. But we gotta keep it real. This outlet's been hit or miss before, so I'm hyped, but also keeping my expectations in check. Oh, and speaking of heat, because let's be honest, Exynos chips have been known to get toasty, Samsung's reportedly throwing in something called Heat Pass Block, or HPB. It's like a cooling system for the chip to keep it from turning your phone into a hand warmer. If this works, it could be a big deal, especially for gamers or anyone who pushes their phone hard. Nobody wants a phone that feels like it's about to melt during a long Netflix binge, right? Here's another cool tidbit. The Galaxy S26 series might not just use this Exynos 2600 everywhere. Depending on where you live, you could get a phone with Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 or the Exynos 2600. Why? Well, Samsung's been leaning on Qualcomm for a while because their Exynos chips weren't always cutting it. But if the Exynos 2600 is as good as they're saying, it could save Samsung some serious cash by not relying on Qualcomm as much. Plus, a recent Geekbench leak, yep, those nerdy benchmark scores, showed the Exynos 2600 holding its own against an underclocked Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That's like David going toe-to-toe with Goliath. I'm curious to see if it can really compete when the phones hit the market. But here's the thing, guys. Samsung's got some work to do beyond just making a great chip. Exynos has a bit of a bad rap with some fans. People are like, ugh, Exynos, why not Snapdragon? It's not just about the tech, it's about winning back trust. If Samsung can nail the performance, keep the phone cool with that heat pass block, and make the S26 series feel premium, they might just change the game. So what do I think? I'm excited, but I'm not all in just yet. The idea of a 2nm chip sounds awesome, and if Samsung's really cracked the code on their yield problems and overheating, this could be a big win for them. But with reports like this, you gotta take it with a grain of salt until we see the real deal. I'm dying to get my hands on a Galaxy S26 and test this Exynos 2600 myself. Imagine the benchmarks, the gaming, the battery life. Oh man, I can't wait. What about you guys? Are you hyped for the Exynos 2600 or are you Team Snapdragon all the way? Drop a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Are you ready for the Galaxy S26 or are you holding out to see if Samsung can really deliver? Hit that like button if you're as curious as I am and subscribe if you want to keep up with all the latest tech tea. Until next time, peace out, tech fam.